Hey, Bayek, it's me, and in today's video, yes, we're here again with another Hammer film, and this is The Phantom of the Opera from 1962, and this is part of the Hammer box set that Tony sent to me, and this is the fourth film I'm reviewing from that. Now, I think let's get straight down to it, because this film, I think, has not such a good reputation in some ways, but over the years, it's another one that has perhaps gained a better reputation. I think because it was seen to some extent as a bit of a flop, which is very sad, really, because in many ways, it is something pretty special. And yes, I'm going to explain why I believe this is a real gem. It really is. And doesn't justify some of the criticism that it gets. Yes. So, let's get on with it. It's in colour. Yes, it's a colour one as well. It was shown as a double bill with Captain Clegg from 1962, which is in this box set as well. It's 84 minutes. Rotten Tomatoes, now here we are. They are not over the top with it, but it gets 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. Some of the reviews are really, I think, quite shocking, what I read. Really bad. Yes, that's what you get. Let's say, anyhow, I won't say no at the moment about it, but the reviews are really bad. But anyhow, it is, of course, based on the 1910 Phantom of the Opera story by Gaston Leroux. And one significant change is, of course, that it's not set in Paris, this one. No, it's in London. Yes, that's a change. And the script, of course, was adapted and written and given a very different emphasis from the book, and in many ways from the two previous films. So it's Anthony Hines going under the name of John Elder, as he often did. Anthony Hines, well, he's also the producer. I think he does a great job on this script. Now, we'd had two versions of this. It was perhaps expected that with Hammer doing all the Universal classics, we would get to this one, which was in their catalogue. Originally, it goes right back to 1925, Lon Chaney, and it's an amazing adaptation of this story. The work that Lon Chaney did of producing this is a very dark, almost like, I don't know, demonic kind of character that we see, and he's made up brilliant. Lon Chaney was very much into doing that with the makeup and everything, and it's actually a very interesting film. Then, 1943, we get the Universal version, which is a very different fish, because it's the character has been changed. They've not gone into that makeup. The emphasis of the story is a bit different, and it's Claude Rains playing this character. There's no complicated makeup in that sense, having the mask and what have you. So that really changes it. And there's not the same darker quality there. But that was from 1943. So fast forward, and here we are in 1962 with this version, which Hammer have produced. The important thing is, it's directed by Terence Fisher. I think maybe that's why I can see so much love I have for this. I can see exactly what he's doing, and I cannot understand why it would get so much criticism. This guy knows how to direct. He really does, and he brings out the best in everything he's got, as usual. The resources there and the actors, fantastic. Now, Bray Studios, of course, but there was important location work, and the Wimbledon Theatre in London was rented out for 3 weeks, and they hired over 100 musicians. The music was also being specially composed, and this was by Edwin Astley. He was the composer, and you may recognize the J.S. Bach Toccata and Fugue in D minor, perhaps the most famous organ music going. Da-da-da, it's all, you hear it, it's the Bach one. Yes, that's in here. But what is fascinating is that this composer is Edwin Astley has to create like the opera within that. So he has to create bits of music and fit into the actual opera which we see. And it's beautifully done. It's great. I love it, actually. I never thought the day had come, and it's over the years now, recently, I've come to appreciate opera a lot more. I really quite enjoy a lot of opera. And I'm thinking of the Argenta film. That's opera. Yeah, opera. Anyhow, we're going off again. But yes, it works well. The music's great. I think it's fantastic. And the performances, the music, beautiful. And you get the love theme. Because in a way, this is a romantic kind of love story mixed with the revenge character. No, maybe in some ways a redemption as well against what has happened. Unfortunately, the villain is not the Phantom. Far from it. He's not a villain at all. The villain is Lord Darcy. Anyhow, we'll see. Get that. So, let's get to the cast. The cast is headed by Herbert Lom. He plays the Phantom. Now, originally, they were hoping to get Cary Grant, and in some ways, the script was written with him in mind, but he pulled out. He didn't do it. So, at the 11th hour, they got Herbert Lom. Some people believe that actually Cary Grant was more written for the Edward D'Souza character, Harry Hunter. Harry, played by Edward D'Souza, would probably have been the more romantic lead, and that was Cary Grant. But anyhow, it didn't happen. Anyhow, Herbert Lom is a legend in some of the stuff he's done. Lady Killers, that film was popped up again with Alec Guinness and the wonderful comedy cast. He was in that 1955. But of course, he was famous throughout this period as well, and into the 70s in the Pink Panther films. But he also delved into horror. Amicus, Asylum, 1972 is quite an important story in that. Fantastic, absolutely. Asylum is one of my favourites of the Amicus ones. He was, which we've looked at before, and I just thought I'd pop it out, is he was in Dark Place from 1972, that wonderful film with Robert Hardy, Christopher Lee, and Joan Collins. I absolutely love that film. He was in that. Then let's have a look. The leading actress who plays Christine was Heather Sears. Now, looking at her career, it's not a massive film career. It's more TV and theatre that she was very much involved in. The film I know is probably the classic film of that period, Room at the Top, 1959, the kitchen sink kind of dramas, that kind of class thing that British film industry was also looking at, and that's very much in that Room at the Top. She's involved in that, as in lots of TV. Then we've got, as I said, mentioned him before, Edward D'Souza. He plays Harry, who's you could say the romantic lead. We saw him in Kiss of the Vampire, The Kiss of the Vampire, 1963. He was an important part of that as well. And he's got a very interesting filmography. But of course, what just stood out for me was he was in The Spy Who Loved Me from 1977. By yes, we got a James Bond connection. Fantastic, isn't it? Then we've got, in many ways, quite a star in this film, but he's the villain. Yes, it's Michael Gough playing as Lord Darcy. He's a real terrible villain. Is he awful, man? And oh yeah, you really don't like him at all. He's brilliant in it. But his film career, it's an amazing career. From a Hammer point of view, he was in Dracula, 1958 one. He was in Conga, 1961. That's another film that he was interested in, which is a really interesting film. He was in the Amicus Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, 1965. He was in, this is a very interesting film. He was in Satan's Slave from 1976. Very important in that. And of course, he plays Alfred in the Batman films. So Batman 1989, Batman Returns 1992, Batman Forever 1995, and Batman and Robin, yes, in that one, 1997, he plays Alfred. And then you carry on and you just keep looking at his film. His filmography is amazing. But yeah, there we are. But he's brilliant in this because he's so bad. He's great. Then we have Ian Wilson, who plays the dwarf character. He's important to this. His filmography is interesting because he's in the Carry On films. Some Carry Ons. He's in Carry On Cabin. Yeah, we've reviewed that. He's in Carry On Jack. Yes. Also, he was in, now, listen to these films. He was in The Day of the Triffids, 1962. Great film. Absolutely loved The Day of the Triffids of that period. It's a great sci-fi film. And he was perhaps in one of the greatest horror films, you can say folk horror films, The Wicker Man. He was in that in 1973. Fantastic. Then we've got another face that you recognise straight away, Thorley Walters. He plays Latimer. Important again in this film, but he's very much connected with Hammer. We've got him in Dracula, Prince of Darkness, 1966. We've got him in Frankenstein Created Woman. I love that film, 1967. We've got him in Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed, 1969. And we've got him in Vampire Circus, which is an absolute classic, which talk about. 1972's Vampire Circus is in that. And then he's got a wonderful collection of films, but there's that point. Yeah. And then, to really get things going for me, it's not a big part. In fact, he meets a sticky end, let's put it there, in a bit of a gruesome ending he gets. Patrick Troughton. And of course, he's got links with Hammer because he's the wonderful second Doctor. We've got to have Doctor Who links. He's only hardly in it, but he's there, and it's Patrick Troughton. I love it. I love it. And he does get a bigger role within Hammer, as we see in some later films. But yeah, fantastic. He plays the rat catcher. Yes, a great part. And then, yes, it's time for the Michael Ripper Watch. I'm afraid it's not much at all, but he's there. He's a coachman. Yes, that's one thing that I was thinking about this film, because I told you about the coaches. The geeky side of me interested about the coaches. The coaches are used quite interesting. I keep thinking, oh yeah, that's that coach. That's from it. Anyhow, he's a coachman. Yeah, you've got to have a film with your coaches. Here, buy it, you have. So there's the cast, right? And what is the story? Well, the story, I think what is changed, the story of this tragic wrong figure is so beautifully played, and the script is great. Herbert Lom does a great job. And we see at the beginning all these sort of mishaps that are happening. It looks like deliberate, and then there's a tragic first murder. This is all happening in this opera house in London, so it's got that tragic feel already. What's going on? And it's the Edward D'Souza character, Harry, who is the one who leads the audience sort of approval, really, of finding out what is going on. And of course, he has the romantic relationship with Christine. Harry and Christine, yes. Again, it's beautifully played by Heather Sears. Fantastic. And if you know the story, then you still can see what's happening. It's beautifully done. I think that's what I love about it. But it's done so sensitively as well. And I love the flashback sequence when we find out when Herbert Lom was the professor, and we find out what exactly happened to get him into this situation. That's beautifully done. And of course we realise pretty early on that Lord Darcy's a right so-and-so, and he's awful, and we find out his connection with the Phantom. Wonderful stuff. Absolutely wonderful. I love it. So the sensitivity of the way the script portrays it is just great. And therefore, and we know that the direction by Terence Fisher, again, brings this together with the script. He brings out the best in the script and brings out the best in the actors, as always. I sit here and just think, wow, this guy, what he does for Hammer, amazing. I know I'm the big banging his drum, going, yes, Terence Fisher, but here he is, with what many people do not think is a great film. And it is a great film. For me, it is. It puts Hammer there. Hammer is stronger and better with Terence Fisher doing what he does. And he creates the atmosphere. It's about atmosphere as well. And the way the atmosphere of the theatre, he does beautifully. Links with these sort of underground bits as well. I love all that, the way he does it, and it adds his. It is a romance. It's a gothic romantic story. Absolutely fantastic with that horror element which he brings. I just love it, and I just can't explain how good this really is, and it should get a lot more love than it has done. I think maybe because it was seen as a bit of a flop at the box office. And Hammer needed to get back, as it was seen, into making financially profitable films again. But this was part of their history. And yes, it's a great film. So let me talk about there's the history of this film. We've gone through it. It was released on DVD in a box set in 2005, and then it's all led up to this. Yes, the Indicator box set release. There it is. Brilliant. And the extras. Wow. The extras, fantastic. I love it. The documentaries. Kim Newman's introduction in all these films is gold. And the documentaries. And the music. I've talked about the music. Oh, I love just watching this composer talking about, the music. It's wonderful. It's great. There it is. There's the film, and there's the booklet. This is, I can't stress it any more than ever, but it is an absolutely fantastic box set. Yeah, there we are. So I'll go the wrong way around. Yeah, there we are. There it is. A fantastic box set. And thank you, Tony, again. Yes. So, hopefully, you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you understand my passion for this. Yes. Well, if you're new, please subscribe, and we'll let you know when I do these videos, and hopefully you might enjoy them. And if you do, please give it a like. It helps with algorithms and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, which you can't say fairer than that, because it costs note. It costs note. And if you've got any comments, please put your comments down. That would be great. I'd love to read your comments, and I'll always reply to them, unless sometimes I don't get informed and I sometimes miss some, but I do try and catch up. So there we are. So all I've got to say is I'll see thee again.